Right, hello guys, it looks like we're just in time. I've jumped into lobby 2 of the Team Taurus, so I'll give you a commentary on this race. It's just about to start, so it's good timing for us now then. So for those of you that only just spot this, because we've done the Nexus, Andy is streaming RA Shadow over on his channel. He is streaming lobby 1 that I usually stream on this channel. So we are going to jump in and stream the second race of lobby 2. So let's see how this one goes for all these guys now then. As we see someone off in the background. Who was that now? That few cars off. Who is it? It looks like it's Kingy is off. Baz is off. Hooligan. Tim. So is that teammates taking each other out there? The 3 teammates all going off there. The 3 McGanns. So they've got their work cut out now. Let's go. There's more contact by the looks of it. Short little track. Very narrow. Very easy to have these things happen. But it was a very awkward one to see what was going on there. But obviously, those 3 McGanns, that team is the team to beat at the moment. Whenever we've had them in our lobby, they have been the team to watch. So everybody will be happy that they've had issues early on. But again, this is a 50-minute race. Therefore, there's plenty of time for those guys to recover. If you're going to have an incident in a 50-minute race, you're better off doing it on lap 1 than you are doing it on the final lap. As Nicky and Harrison, the teammates there, all over Devious Grandad there, who I apologise for pronouncing his name wrong for the entirety of this series so far. But as I said, if you ever have an issue with me pronouncing a name, just let me know and I'll do my best to correct it. As Nicky does get past now then. So Nicky needs to try and run away now. We know the pace that Nicky can have. So if Nicky can start to run away from this one, especially with the likes of King Ears having issues early on, then Nicky could be on for a really good result. And then his teammate Harrison looking to back him up and put pressure on Devious Grandad now then. Let's move back as we've got Call Me Jay with Governor all over the back of him. And again, we know how much pace Governor has, but I wouldn't have thought this car suits this track as well. But down that little bit of straight, it should have an advantage because it's got big straight line speed, this car. So let's see what tyres everyone are on. Nicky's on softs. Devious Grandad on mediums. Harrison on softs. Call Me Jay on mediums, Governor on mediums, Red mediums, Sophie on mediums, Kingy on mediums, Lucky on mediums, Hooligan on mediums, Pooptown on mediums, Baz on mediums, Tim on mediums, and Crazy on so only looks like it's this one team on softs. Everybody's on mediums other than Nicky and Harrison. As Nicky goes off, big mistake from Nicky there. That's not good for Nicky. Got himself to the lead on soft tyres as well. And he's just dropped all the way down to 6th place from that mistake. But will he get 5th back? Yes, he does. So he gets back up into 5th. So big mistake there from Nicky. Let's see how Kingy's doing trying to get through the pack now then. So yeah, Kingy just stuck. He's got a gaggle of 3 cars in front of him here. One of which is Nicky, who's just had his incident. So Nicky has dropped back to 6 now then. So I think Nicky said he's not a fan of this track, which I'm not particularly either. So that might be proof of that right there with that mistake that we saw. So Kingy now then, he's all over the back of these guys, but gonna have to be patient at this track to try and get by with Sophie right in front of him. And let's see how Baz is recovering now then. He's got a bit of a gap to Hooligan that he's closing down. So he'll hopefully be back in the back of this pack soon. As Poop Town is 12th. So he looked like he got involved, and so did Tim. And Crazy has obviously come off the worst out of that early incident. Not quite sure what actually happened, as we only saw it in the background. But Devious Grandad starting to pull out a bit of a lead at the front of this race at the moment then. So he'll be wanting them cars behind to battle, as They Call Me Jay and Harrison are starting to battle away a little bit now. But They Call Me Jay does get by and does make that move stick. So he'll be wanting to catch up to Devious Grandad now then. So we'll see how it manages to go. Governor up to 3rd now as well, so Governor in a good position here, because if he can get to the front, we know the sort of pace Governor has shown in this series so far. So we obviously know he can do a lot. As someone goes off in the background, who was that? It wasn't Nicky, it wasn't Kingy. It was Red that went off in the background there. So that drops him down, so gets Baz a free place, who's looking to close up to Bucky and his teammate Kingy now. So Kingy right behind Sophie, but gonna go for the... No, that's Sophie going for the move on Nicky, sorry. I thought that was Kingy going for the move on Sophie. Oh, that looked like a huge lag spike there. That's really unfortunate for Nicky, because that looked like a massive lag spike. And then again, because Sophie must be lagging all over the place, because that looked like Kingy hit her as well. So Sophie clearly having lag issues, so Kingy's going to have to be very careful getting by here. And obviously that was bad news for Nicky, who's not going to be too happy about that, but hopefully he doesn't get too carried away, because we're still early in this race. 50-minute race it is, so still plenty of time left to go. So obviously don't want him getting carried away too much here. But obviously that can be very frustrating, because he might not know that that's lag related and might think that he's just been hit off and nobody's waited for him. But hopefully he can come back to recover from that. So Kingy is now still struggling to get by, so he's going to come in for an early pit stop. So he's going to do 2 stops on to softs, I imagine. Yes, so this must be a practice strategy, because his teammate Baz has come in behind him as well. So this is clearly a strategy these guys have practiced. I would imagine... No, Baz is putting fuel in. And Kingy's put... I'm surprised they put fuel in there. I'd have thought they wouldn't have fueled up at all there, and that they'd have just come straight out and fueled up in the second stop, but maybe not. And Tim's come in as well, so this is clearly a team strategy from the strategy master Kingy. So, or maybe that's me being mean. Maybe Tim or Baz have come up with this one, but I know Kingy comes up with a lot of them. So let's see how Devious Grandad's going on at the front. He pulled away, but that gap's coming down now that Governor's the one chasing him down. So Governor really looking to pull away in this one. So, but we've seen Governor have the lead in races before, and obviously get it a bit wrong, make mistakes or get the strategy wrong. But raw pace-wise. We know he has the pace as Call Me Jay goes off. Does he hold it? Yes, he does. Fantastic from Call Me Jay there to hold that one. But he's off again. No, he keeps that as well. They're struggling there. So Sophie up into 4th with Bucky in 5th. Red back up into 6th with those guys pitting. And Harrison having dropped down to 7th. Hooligan in 8th. King. So has Nicky now come into the pits? No, Nicky must have made a mistake again. And it's going terrible for Nicky. I know he said he didn't like this track, and we can see why now. He's really not getting on well with it, as actually he's giving up on this one, which we don't like to see, unfortunately. But he's clearly not happy, is Nicky. But hopefully he calms down from this one. But he's going to come into the pits. That might be Nicky's race done. So very unfortunate to see there. So maybe he'll jump in if he's seen that we're on stream now. So hopefully he can let us know how he's feeling, but hopefully he's okay. But clearly not too happy with that one. As Devious Grandad is holding off Governor at the moment, but it looks like Governor's really going for this. Looks like Sophie's lag might have been the cause of the incidents early on. So we'll just put a message for everyone so they can see. But that might be why Nicky has dropped out the race. So that's very unfortunate to see. As I said, I mean, we could see it on the stream how much Sophie was lagging about. But I mean, it looks settled again now. And to be honest, that's the worst of it. If someone's constantly lagging, you can try and predict it. Whereas when it's like this, where it all of a sudden looks okay, and then all of a sudden you get big spikes of it, it's very hard for people to judge what's going on. So that could be what's happened. But hopefully Nicky's okay, because he was on the wrong end of one of them lag spikes of Sophie's. But let's see how these early pitters are getting on. So Kingy has now closed that gap and started to get onto the back of Hooligan now. And Hooligan has got a penalty. So that'll be good news for Kingy. He should be able to get past him fairly easily at the penalty zone then. So that's good timing for Kingy. So he's going to have another 4.5 seconds then up to Harrison. So he's going to have even more clean air as he's putting in fastest laps on these fresh soft tyres. So obviously he'll be looking to chase down Governor overall. So Governor has now gone into the lead as he nearly makes a mistake there. Just playing with the edge of that gravel there. Thought he was going to go, but he holds it. As Devious Grandad has now got They Call Me Jay all over the back of him, and then his teammate Sophie has got Lucky Bucky for company there. Red is in a bit of no man's land at the moment, same as Harrison. Kingy is now obviously going to try and chase Harrison down. So let's see if this strategy pays off for these McGann guys. All had the incident early on and all decided to come into the pits for softs, presuming it was a planned strategy, but may not have been. Maybe a winged strategy off, but we've all had incidents, let's get in the pits and let's get those soft tyres on and clear air. And it's working for Kingy at the moment, because he's still gaining on the leader, still setting fastest laps as Baz sets a purple lap behind him. So it's clearly working for Baz as well. So these guys have got this change in strategy working, but it could be a planned strategy with the fact that they've all gone onto it. And then Tim is now under pressure from Pooptown, but I imagine he didn't long get past Pooptown, and then unfortunately Nicky has decided to call it in this race, which we don't like to see, but things have just... He got to the front early on as far as we could notice, and then made a mistake himself and then got caught up in that really, really bad lag spike from Sophie, and obviously very understandable to be frustrated, and can be very hard to race on when you are feeling that way. So it's a shame to see, but hopefully he will come back better in the next one, because we know the sort of pace Nicky has started to produce. But Governor now pulling away to a 4.4 second lead, so he's creating a nice gap now to Devious Grandad, but his main threat probably Kingy, as I would imagine, depending on how the strategy goes. But 15 minutes into this 50-minute race now then, as Devious Grandad is being very devious and holding up a few cars now. So they call me Jay, teammate Sophie and Lucky Bucky all right up behind him now then. So these guys are obviously all on the medium tyres. So Red then in 6th, looks like he's starting to close up to these guys. So he should be starting to gain. Kingy is still bringing that gap down to the leader as well, which is the main thing in this, is not catching those ahead. It's that gap to the leader that you can see in red there. So that was 13.5 seconds before, and it's now down to 12. So Kingy at the moment is still gaining, but he is on soft tyres compared to Governor's mediums. But these guys will definitely be on the 2-stop strategy, I imagine. But this is the car to be in round this track normally. So obviously these have got the card advantage, but all 3 of them did have an issue early on, as Harrison has got Hooligan close behind him now, but Hooligan has got a penalty there. Baz is now still putting in decent laps, chasing down the lead as well. And Baz said this is one of his favourite tracks, so let's see if Baz can recover after that early incident. Still plenty of time left in this one. Crazy Birch, who also got caught up in that earlier incident, down in 11th, but having not pitted yet, with Tim gaining on Crazy Birch now, and obviously Tim has pitted. Same strategy as the other 2 in his team. So clearly a team strategy from those guys. As Governor has now pulled out a big lead, as we saw someone was in the pits. I was red in the pits, but what's happened to Devious Grandad? He's gone from the front of this pack to the back. As they call me, Jay has now got to the front of this pack for second, with Sophie right behind, and Lucky Bucky still looking for the way past Sophie now. So still struggling Lucky Bucky here to get by Sophie, but he's giving it all he can. Devious Grandad now has Kingy as for company, so this is where Governor needs to make the most, as Kingy has possibly gets stuck in this little battle, and this is where Baz needs to make the most of his clear air as well, as Kingy does get along Devious Grandad, but has to back out of that one and settle back in. So let's see whether Kingy can get through this group fairly cleanly now then. So here we go. Is Kingy going to look for the move? Oh, his Bucky's gone off. So a mistake from Bucky there by the looks of it. Hopefully that wasn't lag related with Sophie again. But last we saw, Sophie was in front of him, but it could have been a jump that distracted him. We don't know. But at least he's got going on that one fairly quickly. So Kingy right up the bumper of Devious Grandad now. Is he going to go for it into the hairpin? Looks like he is. And he does get alongside, and those good brakes on that McGann getting by, no problem there. So Kingy is making his way through this group, but look at that gap to the leader going back up again now. Kingy got that gap down to about 10 seconds, and it's now back to 11.6. So Governor needs to make the most of Kingy being stuck in this traffic now then. And let's see, has Baz closed up? Not as much as I think he'd like to. He would have hoped to have caught his teammate up a little bit quicker than that. As Devious Grandad starts to drop away, Bucky ends up in a bit of no man's land, with Baz now chasing him down. Hooligan looking to try and chase Baz down, and Red, who has come into the pits with fresh tyres, will be looking to chase Hooligan down and get by. Crazy Birch and Tim now right together, so Tim will be looking to get past as soon as he can now. So let's see if he manages to make this move. He does get to the inside there by the looks of it, and he's going to go by, and Crazy Birch, I think, knows with the pace he's caught there, just backed off and let him have that, I think. So good driving there, and then these two teammates right up behind each other, but unfortunately things have gone wrong for Nicky's team here. They've all ended up at the back, with Nicky out of this race as well. So Governor now 11 seconds lead over Sophie, but Kingias is right over Sophie. Sophie has a huge lag spike there. It looked like Kingias was past, but somehow Sophie then ends up miles ahead, so Kingy had to take a really narrow line there to get by Sophie, and then all of a sudden Sophie jumped forward by about half a second. So Kingy's going to have to be very, very careful here that he doesn't get caught up in an incident getting past Sophie, and I think that's caused some incidents with other people as well, as we saw with Nicky. Definitely got caught up in an incident with Sophie's lag. So let's just stay on board with Kingy for a while now and see whether he can navigate this awkward position to be in. And once he gets by, he needs to run away as quick as he can, as Sophie makes a mistake there, so he gets by. So now he's by, he needs to try and get away as quick as he can, because he doesn't want to get caught in any lag spikes like Nicky did earlier on. Because again, unfortunately for Sophie, there's not a lot she can do about this. If she's braking on her screen at the right point and then it's jumping her forward and hitting other cars, she can't really predict what's going to happen. But the same again, it's hard for the cars around her to predict her movement as well at the same time. But it looks like Kingy now might have got enough of a gap that he can pull away. So this is now the interesting battle, is 10.5 seconds Kingy now has to chase down on Governor. But let's see, Governor's tyres, not as bad as they could be. So Governor should be able to just go as long as he can on these tyres and then put the softs on and go all the way to the end. Whereas I imagine Kingy's going to pit again for another set of softs. So this is a genuine first-second battle, I think, here. But obviously Kingy is in the car that I imagine should have a bit more pace overall on the same tyres than what Governor's does, and Governor's really having to push, and he's making a few little mistakes now then. So hopefully he doesn't make a big error like he did with his strategy in the wet race last week. As Kingy now is bringing that gap down, so now he's got clear air. We'll see what sort of pace Kingy can start to do again. As Baz is now in this group with Sophie and Bucky, who's got by Sophie, so Sophie must have had an issue now then. So let's see, can Baz navigate these two nice and cleanly as well and avoid any lag issues and start to close down that gap to the leader as well. So he gets past Lucky quite easily there. Is he going to be close enough to go for the move on Sophie? I don't think he is. The brakes are much better in that car, but I think he tried to go for it, but it was a bit optimistic there from Baz. Because even though the brakes are good on this car, I don't think they're quite that good. But if he can get a good exit here, he might be able to make something happen. So let's see, is Baz getting the move? No, he's on the outside and Sophie holds him off. But he gets the cut back. Has he got? Yes, he's got the inside line now, and he's got the better brakes. And Sophie's lag there must have scared Baz again, but luckily he was on the inside. So Baz now is going to need to do the same as what Kingy has did and get away quick so that he doesn't get a lag spike from Sophie, who's, yes, definitely off again this time. Very hard to tell whether she's lagging off and then lagging back on, so I think that was a genuine off the track, hence she's dropped behind Bucky. So that's good news for Baz, who can now chase after his teammate and Governor up in the lead. So here's a genuine 1-2-3 battle now sorted out. All three of these, I imagine, are just going to pit once more. But actually, Governor might have to put mediums on again. We'll see, because his fuel's starting to run out now. So the fuel wear in that car is much worse, and we're only just halfway through this race now. So still half of this race to go, and Governor's got a 7-second lead, but that lead is being eaten into by King Gears here, who is on the fresher, better tyres, and who is also in the better car for this track. I imagine this Sylvia is a bit of a handful at this track, which it has been at a few of the tracks by the looks of it. But Governor, in my opinion, he needs to try and compete with Kingy and Baz here. He needs to get to as far as he can with this fuel. He might get another lap, I'm not quite sure. Let's see. If he comes in now, he's going to have to put mediums on. No, he's staying out, which is what he needs to do, because I think he needs to try and put the softs on to compete with these two guys behind, but it's looking like he may not be able to do that because of the tyre wear on that car. So Baz is closing the gap to the lead as well, but Kingy is still pulling away from him. As Red now comes through into 4th place, having done that earlier pit stop, as we see Bucky come into the pit with only 5 litres of fuel left, or 5% of fuel left, sorry. So obviously Bucky now, so that's going to be a similar situation to what Governor's in. So we'll see whether Bucky puts the mediums on or the softs on, and that might tell us what we expect Governor to do up front. As Tim now moves up into 7th place, and he's starting to close the gap on Devious Grandad now. Has Call Me Jay come into the pits? I think he has by the looks of it. So Bucky does put mediums on again, so that's what I'm thinking, that Governor's going to have to put mediums on again and then just rely on track position and making it difficult for King Gears to get by, I think. So let's just move back to the front. Yeah, that gap's still coming down. So Kingy's going to be on fresh softs, I think, and I don't think Governor's going to... He might risk the softs, but I don't think he's going to be able to make it onto the softs. I think he's going to have to put mediums on. But he's come in now, so he's only got 2% of fuel left as Kingy stays out. So is Baz going to get him as well? I imagine he is, and I imagine Baz will stay out. So this is the main one here, is seeing what tyres will Governor put on, and can he stay ahead? He had 4.5 seconds, I think, to King Gears when he come in the pit. So Governor needs to get out, do some good laps. He has put the softs on, so Governor is going for the softs. So Governor needs a good couple of laps, and he needs to stay ahead of Kingy when Kingy pits. And then he's going to have to, at the end of this race, I imagine, fight for that position for his life with that faster car on this track bearing down on him. Hey Ray, thanks for popping in. So Kingy orchestrating the strategy again for the for his team, because I see they all came in on the same lap, so I'm presuming that's a Kingy strategy choice. So let's see what Governor can do on the fresh softs compared to King Gears, because that's going to be the main test. And let's see when King Gears chooses to come in. Is he going to come in early? But he's going to have less fuel to put in because he put fuel in before. So he's not going to have to put as much fuel in as Governor did. So he's going to be very close between these two as to who comes out where. Governor, I think he's going to have to close the gap to King Gears before King Gears pits here. But it is going to be very, very close. So let's see what else is going on now. So we've got Call Me J has got by Tim now. So Tim's going to probably try and use Call Me J to pull him along, and we'll see when Tim pits again. But Call Me J is probably going to try and go to the end of this race, but looking at that tyre wear might struggle as we've got 20 minutes left to go in this one, just over. Bucky has come out and stayed ahead of Sophie, who has put the mediums on as well. Then Harrison has pitted for mediums. Hooligan has pitted for softs. Crazy has pitted for softs. And Pooptown has pitted for softs. Oh no, I thought I saw Kingy in the pits then, but was mistaken. He's not even near the pits. So he's got a clear lead over his teammate, but let's see what the gap to Governor is. Not coming down. It's staying at about the same. So as it stands, I reckon Kingy's going to come out the pits just ahead of Governor, but it's going to be very, very close. So it'll be interesting to see that one. And it can't be long now till Kingy pits, and it's not. It's on this lap. So imagine Baz is going to come in as well. So let's see if Baz comes in. He does. So Baz follows his teammate into the pits. So now let's see what Governor can do. Where is Kingy going to come out the pits compared to Governor? And Kingy's going to have the inside line if he comes out the pits as Governor's coming by. Let's see as Kingy does come out. No, he's well ahead. Let's see how close Governor can get, though, because he's going to have the run here. Let's see what the gap's going to be. 2.2 seconds. So that fueling in that first pit stop has allowed Kingy as now to jump Governor in the pits. And Kingy has got the faster car, so I think that could be game over for Governor now. But he is ahead of Baz, so can Baz chase Governor down for what will be a net P1? Yeah, Nicky, I understand. I totally see what happened. It's one of them unfortunate things. We can have a look at it on the replay, but obviously, as you might have seen on the stream, if you flick back, it was a huge lag spike by the looks of it from Sophie. So, you know, it's one of them problems with the game at the moment. There's not a lot we can do. And as I said, I totally understand why you've ended up sat in the pits, but you know, as you said, better than just quitting totally out. But I feel I'm not a fan of this track either, so I wouldn't say I wouldn't do the same, because to be honest, I probably would. So I can't say that. So said hopefully it goes better for you next week, and maybe you can have a bit of fun watching this this battle between Kingy, Baz, and Governor that Red is currently involved in, but he's going to have to pit soon by the looks of it. Yes, Steve, I don't think he's going to be able to, though, because Kingy's in the OP car for this track, isn't he? So, I mean, Governor needed to be ahead of Kingy when Kingy come out the pits. I think that was his only chance, was to be ahead and have track position. Now that he's behind, I don't think he's going to have the pace in that car to catch Kingy, unless Kingy makes a mistake, which he doesn't do. You never know, Nicky, it might surprise you. You might be driving that track at night and realise, actually, I love this track. Or you might do what most people are probably going to do and want to kill yourself once the race is over. So, we'll see. Hopefully the other lobby's going on well as well. Yeah, that's one way to look at it, Blitz, sometimes, but if you're driving in that much of a rage, it can be very hard to carry on because you feel like you might ruin someone else's race. So it's always a bit of a fine-tooth comb, really. Bucky serves a penalty there, so he's going to drop away from Sophie now. Well, they call me Jay's up into 6th place by a fair. These guys come into the pits again. Ah, no, this is from before, isn't it? Because Tim would have come into the pits again. So Call Me Jay gets past Devious Grandad nearly. No, Devious Grandad's going to hold it, is he? No, they Call Me Jay gets the run out the corner, so he takes that position. But both these guys are going to have to come back into the pits by the looks of it. So Baz now is not really closing the gap on Governor by the looks of it. So, yeah, and Kingy is pulling away from Governor. So I think we've got a 1-2-3 at the moment without any issues. But if Baz can maybe turn it on a little bit, he might have a chance of chasing Governor down. Yeah, Baz isn't really bringing that gap down. It looks like he's maybe putting in one decent lap and then a poor lap, so that's probably not helping his cause. As Kingy gets the fastest lap of the race there then, by the looks of it, with a 28.9, first guy to get into the 28s there. So yeah, Governor's going to have no chance here as Kingy takes the lead as Red pits. So where's Red going to come out the pits now then? Let's see. He is going to come out in 4th place. So this strategy's worked out well for Red as well. This is going to be a good 4th place for him by the looks of it, because these 2 cars behind him are both going to have to pit again. So they're racing against Sophie and Lucky Bucky, who are on different strategies. And Tim now on the softs will be trying to do what he did before and get back after Lucky Bucky and Sophie and pass both of them. So he's done it once. Can he do it again? Yeah, so Kingy is pulling away now, and as Baz made a big mistake, Baz has lost a lot of time on this lap by the looks of it. The gap was just over 10 seconds to Governor, and it's now 13.5. So Baz must have made a big error on this lap. Yeah, and Red's got very close to him. This is going to be very interesting now, as Red's got slightly fresher tyres. Baz has got the better car for the track, but Red, fresher tyres, less fuel. So let's see whether Red can chase down Baz now then. Could get very interesting for 3rd place. But let's see what Baz's lap time's like to see whether he... Yeah, he must have made a huge mistake. He's 4 seconds down on his best lap there, so clearly something happened as Devious Grandad comes into the pits now then. So Colby J will probably be coming in soon as well. So this is going to promote Sophie and Lucky Bucky most likely. But obviously Devious Grandad is going to be on the soft tyres chasing them down. Yeah, well, I was going to say the car itself is already the better car for this track by a fair distance. Kingy is never bad at this track either. And then, you know, the fact that pretty much in any race, if he can get going, he's untouchable. As Lucky goes, no! Lucky was on for a really good finish in this one, and he's had a big crash, and he's ended up getting reset, and he's got damage. So that's bad news for Bucky, but Tim could take advantage of that as he closes right up to him now. So Tim might move himself up through the field a little bit with that one. How's Lobby 1 going, by the way? Does anyone know? Hopefully the stream's been going well for Andy, taking it away for us while we were busy with the Nexus. Yeah, it can. If you get too much on it, it can just spin your car. It's a little bit unnatural, but it is how the game is. You know it's likely to happen, so you do have to be very careful when you touch that AstroTurf. Let's see now, that gap between Red and Baz has stabilised. But Baz might be starting to feel the pressure, because he lost a lot of time with one mistake. So if Red keeps it clean, it's only one mistake and all of a sudden he'll be right there with Baz. Call Me Jay in a little bit of no man's land now, but gonna have to pit again very soon. Driving around with the hazards on as well. So Sophie should get ahead of Call Me Jay when he pits. But he's going to be very fast on them soft tyres at the end of the race, I imagine. So it'll be where he is compared to Devious Grandad, who he was racing with before Devious Grandad pitted. And obviously whether he'll be ahead of Lucky. Tim now 7th is possibly there for Tim. Maybe 6th, depending on what happens with Call Me Jay. Hooligan in a bit of no man's land, but gets a penalty, so he's going to be under pressure from Harrison and his teammate Crazy Birch now then. And Pooptown unfortunately has dropped off the back a bit now, and the leaders are coming to lap him, so obviously he's going to have to get out the way soon as well. So that's not good news, and he just gets out the way. So very nice of Pooptown there, just getting out the way of that. As Kingy's pulled his gap to 6 seconds now, so without a jinx and a major error, Kingy's got this one in the bag. Not that I want to jinx him, not that I want to see him make a mistake, but we'll just stay on board with him for a little bit, just in case he decides to do one for us. You never know, he might touch the AstroTurf, get a spin, but said this car's basically designed for this track. And especially once you're in clear air, it's a little bit different if you get stuck behind people, but in clear air, no, you don't really stand a chance against this car. No, I'm just joking, Nicky. I definitely don't want him to spin. No way would I want Kingy to ever spin. You know, I wouldn't want it to be a more exciting race by Kingy spinning and then having to have a fight. Not a chance. But if it happens... But no, Kingy, we know he doesn't make mistakes, especially not when he's in this position in the lead. He'll just cruise from this point onwards now, I think. I don't know what you're on about, Ray. Don't know what you're on about. But Baz has closed the gap to Governor a little bit now, but too much to do with only 8 minutes left of this race to go. But Red is still within that 2.5 seconds of Baz, so a mistake from Baz as well could make this very interesting, as Red is right there to pounce, but I don't think Red's quite got the pace to actually gain on Baz. He's matching him lap for lap, but he's not quite got the pace to actually get caught up to him, I don't think. Let's see where Call Me Jay came out. He did come out ahead of Devious Grandad, so that's good for Call Me Jay. I think he might have put way too much fuel in, though. So he could have come out even further ahead and chased down Sophie. He's going to have to pull a 2 seconds a lap, probably. So that's unlikely. 2 seconds a lap to the end of this race. He is on fresh softs compared to slightly worn mediums, though, so not impossible, but unlikely. Tim has still not managed to get past Lucky here, so this could be an interesting battle at the end. Tim's tyres are fresher as Tim goes off, but he holds it. Well held from Tim there. Maybe this is what's been happening. Tim's a bit stuck behind Lucky. That's what happens at this track. That's why I said I think Governor needed to get ahead of King Gears in that pit stop phase, because if he had, he obviously could have held position and Kingy would have had a much harder race. But once Kingy got ahead of him in the pit stops and had that clear air, I think Governor had no answer for him with the car difference. Same card, it could have been a different story, but that's not the case. We'll stay with Tim for a bit here, because definitely looks like he's closing in on a move on Bucky. It's just whether he can find somewhere to go for one. But he's definitely looking for something. But he has dropped off at the start of this lap. So Lucky's had a very good start to the lap here. So very interesting battle to 8th to look out for the end of the race. Because I don't think there's going to be much in between these two guys by the looks of it. But let's move back to Baz and see that gap. No, Baz has started to put in consistent clean laps now and pull away. And Red has just put in a very poor lap compared to what he has been doing. So Baz has pulled that gap now. So without a mistake, then Baz should have this 3rd place no problem now. As we just come to 5 minutes left to go in this one. So Governor now, so I think we've got 1st, 2nd, 3rd pretty much settled without any mistakes. 4th as well. So the top 4 I think is the top 4 as it stands at the end of the race without any of them making a big mistake. Then Sophie should have 5th. Fairly bit of no man's land. Call Me Jay is on fresher tyres than Devious Grandad, so without a mistake should be able to stay ahead now. Lucky is closing Devious Grandad down, but he has got Tim for company, so I don't think there's enough time left for those two to chase him down. So this is our main battle of the race, by the looks of it, is for 8th place between Tim and Lucky. So if anyone spots any movement from cars elsewhere on the leaderboard, give me a shout in the comments and I will try and catch that. But I think this is the battle we want to watch at the moment. As Tim going for the switchback. Does he get it? No. Lucky Bucky manages to come across, but gets a bit on the grass and it forces him across a bit heavy there, but luckily no contact between them. Yeah, I think Gov's really having to push with that Sylvia at this track. I couldn't think of... I've not drove the Sylvia, but seeing people drive it, I couldn't think of a much worse track to drive it at, to be honest. It doesn't look like it would favour a short, twisty track. So Bucky gets a good exit, but so does Tim. But this is where Tim's problem will be. He probably won't have the grunt on these straights. So as long as Lucky can keep Tim behind him through the twisty, through that sort of like quadruple rights section of the track, then I don't think there's a lot Tim can do. Because as long as he gets a good exit onto the straights, then Bucky should have the power down the straights to stay ahead of Tim, even with Tim having slipstreamers. No, Tim makes a huge mistake there, pushing just so hard to get ahead of Bucky. He had nearly managed it, but unfortunately, he just touches the grass on the outside and spins the car, but he keeps it out the wall, so he's got no damage. He loses a position to Crazy, but he's close enough that he could get that position back because he didn't get any damage from that. But that's the race for 8th over now then. So great racing from Tim. Very unfortunate that that happened there. So now Tim will be in our only battle again, but this time the battle for 9th place rather than 8th place, as Kingy has moved to an 11-second lead now with 2 minutes left to go. Governor with 8 seconds to spare to Baz, and Baz with 6.5 seconds to spare to Red, who's got 20 seconds to spare to his teammate. So I think that top, and 9 seconds from Sophie to Call Me Jay, so that top 5 is well and truly sorted without any big incidents. Call Me Jay should be okay for 6 as well. Devious Grandad and Lucky both should be okay for 7th and 8th. So again, our only real battle left on track at this time seems to be Crazy versus Tim. Yeah, Nicky, everybody's spread out in this one. As I said, we only really had Tim and Lucky with the battle there, which was a very good looking battle. Unfortunate that Tim made that mistake. But Tim's really pushing hard, I think, to get that 9th place back. But he'll have to be careful he doesn't make another mistake again, because he does look like he's really pushing now to get that position back. Is this going to be their final lap? Can never tell at these. I don't think these will get another lap. So this will be Tim's last chance, I think, to get the move done here. I think all those ahead should get a final lap. But I don't think Tim and Crazy will. So I think from 9th downwards we won't see another lap, but everybody else we will see do another lap. Let's just see then, out 15 seconds left. Yeah, so Bucky should make it to the line, but these two aren't going to. Yeah, so Bucky going to do a final lap now then. So this is going to be it for these two. So unfortunately that mistake at the end has cost Tim 9th place, but he was really pushing for 10th, so I don't blame him, as Hooligan and Harrison just having Kingy come past him right at the end. So let's see Kingy. So Kingy's going to cross the line to take the win again. I don't know how many wins that is now he's had in this, but it's got to be close to nearly every race. Governor very good in that car to come home in 2nd. Possibly could have given Kingy the fight if he could have stayed ahead of him in that pit stop phase. Baz, after the difficult start, good recovery to 3rd place. And Red, very good strategy to get 4th as well by the looks of it. And Sophie, unfortunately, with a lot of lag going on, but's going to manage to bring it home for 5th. But shame for a few others. With hard to tell exactly what happened, but there was a lot of lagging with Sophie. And they weren't just constant lagging, it was just big spikes, which is probably the hardest lag to deal with. Call Me Jay has had a very good race in this one, I think. And Devious Grandad has had a good race as well. And so's Lucky, other than that one mistake, a well-deserved 8th place. So that's everybody across the line now. Crazy in 9th, Tim in 10th. Hooligan was 11th, Haddison 12th, Pooptown 13th, and Nicky 14th. So I didn't see the first race in this one, and I jumped on quick to try and get this second race, and we just got it from the start. So it's going to be very hard, but I think I'm going to give driver of the day to Call Me Jay. I think Kingy just had it too easy. We know how quick Gov and Baz can be as well. Red possibly could have had it, but I think Red has shown how quick he can be as well. But I think from what I've seen from Call Me Jay, that looked like one of his better races. So I think I'm going to give him driver of the day this week. Yeah, Tim, it was interesting, wasn't it? I mean, you're having a fantastic fight with Lucky there, but just pushed that a little bit too hard. It's one of them, innit? You don't want to just give up on the fight for 8th, but that mistake then obviously loses your position. But I think it's well worth having pushed. You know, I'd rather lose one trying to get one, to be honest, in that position myself. So said it was just unfortunate. And obviously you got caught up in that unfortunate lag incident at the very start as well, so that didn't help. Yeah, no worries, right? I said I was always looking, if you couldn't have got Andy to stream, I would have looked to obviously jump straight on after Nexus to get the other one, and then I thought, well, while I'm here, might as well stream the second race of Lobby 2, and luckily it hadn't started yet, so we didn't affect anyone by jumping in the lobby either. So I'm going to call it quits, but if you want to see what happened in Lobby 1, as I said, Andy did stream the whole thing, so go check that out on his channel. So I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.